Hey, readers, welcome back to the show. We have another book bag. You know how much I love these episodes. And today we have two wild stories. The one and only Stephen King reading a fairy tale, and libraries are actually working with AI. Let's talk about it. Hey, everybody, welcome back. My name is Rob. This is my mom, Karen, and we are your hosts of Books, Banter, and Beyond, the YouTube channel for the Next Chapter Bookstore. Talk about all sorts of book, all sorts of news, all that good stuff here. And today I got some really fun ones, and I could not pass up either of these topics here. So jumping right in, this one is hilarious to me, considering I am a King reader. I grew up reading all this stuff. But did you guys know that he is actually going to be narrating a famous Grimm's fairy tale, specifically Hansel and Gretel? So off the bat, that seems odd, but let's give you some input because it actually has to do with another famous author who recently passed and his adaptation. So, Stephen King will be narrating an audiobook version of Hansel and Gretel coming out, I believe, in September, so very soon from when we're recording right now. But the illustrations are by the late Maurice Sendak. You might remember him from Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah.
So this is inspired not just by his book, though, by actually an opera adaptation that Sendak wrote back in 1997. And these are the sketches that were going to be used for the theater production. Obviously, King's trademark of charm and creepy, they feel is a perfect fit.
Oh my God. So Stephen King is like reading a fairy tale. My bedtime stories have certainly gotten an upgrade. I mean, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, if Cinderella suddenly came out with an axe out of nowhere, like it's just really strange idea. But later, the Sendak Foundation calls it a very captivating and thrilling story. And you can order it for September 2nd if you go onto the Sendak website. I think
Interesting.
this is pretty interesting. I mean, this is definitely something that I would have seen, like I think back in the 90s when you had those crossovers and you had people who don't do something all of a sudden do that. Um, I believe because I was reading them were friends when Sendak was alive. So I think this was probably something that might have been in the works for a little
In the
while
works.
here. But
Right.
more recently, obviously from his passing, they probably decided, hey, this might be a great time to actually fulfill
So it
this
literally gives a
thing.
new
So
definition to creepy fairy tales and bedtime stories. Yeah.
exactly. And moving from spooky fairy tales, like you just said, into real world magic, libraries and AI coming together. Now, before everybody gasps in horror, this is actually not what you might expect. And this actually was not what I expected when I read the article. But they are collaborating with AI in a couple major ways. According to Harvard, they released nearly 1 million public domain books as training data to websites like Microsoft and OpenAI to help build smarter and more knowledgeable archives. So, in layman's terms, it basically means what you are using is if you can't get a hold of, let's say, a old nonfiction, maybe historical reference, libraries are now they're uploading them to these programs so that way those of you who might need it can
Mhm.
now go online and basically research it and read it for your personal use, whether it's a school report, whether it's work. So it's really it's probably
Yeah.
one of the few ways that AI legitimately actually is going to be helpful for somebody who is doing a project like this.
You know
What
how
do you
much I love AI. I mean, I love AI. I'm one of the people that actually think it's pretty cool used appropriately. But I'm thinking Dewey Decimal. Like all of a sudden it's getting AI help. When you went to the library, we or back in the day, I think when you went to, they had the card catalogs, right?
Yes,
You
yes.
pull open the things. Now, I mean, you got the Libby app. Do you think Libby app is using AI technology?
That I don't know as much because that one comes straight out of the library. So, for instance, our library, I think, is the LA Public Library, which I think is our biggest one nearby. So, the apps like that, I think, are strictly just listing the books that they have. Obviously somebody had to upload the thing, so they're using a computer system to list all the books. But I don't think an app like that necessarily needs it as much because all you're doing there is listing it out.
Catalogs. They're tapping into
However,
catalogs. Yeah.
exactly. However, what AI would be doing here is speeding up the ability to get all the loans out, and you're cutting the workload for the real people, allowing those people to then go back into the library and do their job and
Right.
not have to worry about doing all of this excess technology work. Um, and there's libraries like Stony Brook who have hired specific people who just deal with that. That way, like I just mentioned, the library staff can go about their day helping the people that come in, doing the books, sorting all the stuff, and nobody has to lose anything. And to be clear on this article, they want to make sure that librarians are in charge, not letting AI take over.
I love that. So actually, what you're saying is AI will help you find the book faster, but the librarians are still going to bring the heart and soul.
Exactly. I mean, so for those freaking out going, "Oh my god, AI is taking
Right.
over," it's not necessarily like that. This is really two things coming together to make hopefully our lives as the readers easier when it comes to researching, when it comes to reading, and when it comes to doing your work. Because I know a lot of people who are in marketing or a lot of people doing school projects, you need to get resources that you might not have.
Right.
This way, you can hop on your computer, say, "Hey, I need a book on X, Y, and Z," and you're going to get an entire list of
Books
library
on X, Y, and
resources.
Z. Exactly. So, what do you think? If Stephen King could retell any fairy tale at any time, what would
Uh,
it be and why?
I don't even know. So I think Hansel and Gretel actually works, because Hansel and Gretel is kind of a darker fairy tale there. I would say maybe,
Little Red Riding Hood?
ooh, that would be a good one. Little Red Riding Hood. I was thinking maybe like the original Pinocchio story, something like
Yeah.
that. I'm thinking a fairy tale that has a very kind of darker visual. I
Most
do like
fairy
the Red
tales,
Riding Hood. That's a good
Rob,
one right there.
most fairy tales do have a darker meaning. Think about
That
it.
is true. For those who have read Grimm, you'll
Yeah,
realize that the videos that you see
yeah,
today are definitely not the fairy tales that were written by them.
exactly. So, would you trust AI to help you recommend to help recommend to you your next book to read, or are you still counting on?
I mean,
No.
in terms of work, being a business owner, if I need a resource that maybe I can't get my hands on from the library, I can see how that could be helpful. However, if it is a discussion on a book for me to read, I think I'm more than willing to check myself on Libby or at the library, because at the end of the day, if it's for fun, I'm going to want to pick it. If it's for work, then I will happily use a resource to help me narrow down.
I think that's a great way to differentiate when you would and when you would not use it. We encourage
Yes.
everyone to go check out the Next Chapter Bookstore.shop, where you're going to find lots of amazing, gently used books, all different categories, fairy tales, fantasy, science fiction, romance, you name it, Rob, right? Comic books,
Oh yeah, all that and much, much more.
and much, much more. As we like to say here, it's always fun having a conversation with you, Rob, and also with our audience. If you have any questions, any thoughts, or something you want us to do a show on, make sure you put it in the comments, and we
Hmm.
will do our best to do that. So, without further ado, see you next time. Bye.